again, people are going to tell me how it's supposed to be pronounced, so I'm going to pronounce Halcyon. This is a team that has participated a lot in the Splatoon NA League the past handful of months. And if I look at their season standings, they finished 9th, just missing top 8. But they get the chance to see if they can compete. At the very least, to still stay within range for top 4. Tchecks play is gonna be the team to try to derail them because they're up 2-0. They got their roster of Yeti, Kit Kat, and Toady. I'm gonna call them Alex. That's all I'm gonna say about that. This is a team kind of just brought in together to see if they just to see how they can perform. There's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of things pretty much at stake really for Tchecks play and Halcyon as well. I'd like to point out here, Shiny I believe will be summing in for Kaisa. At least that's what's happening so far in this particular tournament. You guys know Shiny. Yes, the Shiny. That is the Shiny that Shiny of Sunset Surge fame and Gourmet Race, if I'm not mistaken, fame here as well. So there's a lot of things to note for both teams, but ultimately Tchecks wants to win to keep up the undefeated streak.
Yeah, and a little harp on that as well. If there's any player to kind of come in for maybe a different roster for Halcyon, it is Shiny. Saw them play in person when Sunset Surge invaded H-Town Splashdown, which they famously won. Texas native, it is what it is. It was a very entertaining set regardless. So, but yeah, that really goes to show how high of a caliber these players are. Shiny, I believe, will be the backline for Halcyon. I'm not mistaken, usually plays Edit or Pen for them regardless. But enough of the players regardless. Here, we'll be looking at the map. Spot Zone's Inkblot Art Academy will be the one to kick it off.
You know, actually, I look at the map list. I think everybody loves Barnacle and Dime. That's the only conclusion I can draw from the teams, because we get to see it into that game 5 where both teams pick it. The only unconventional map, if we have to get to it, is the Undertow Spillway Zones map. Now, playing a lot of Anarchy to say the least here, it became my least favorite map of all time from a Zones perspective. But that's just me personally. But we'll only talk about that when we get to it. But Inkblot Art Academy, we've seen it before with set number 1 with Ants and EZMD. Inkblot Art Academy has, of course, the big zone with the big building in the middle there. So I'm gonna be the ultimate question really for both teams here is how do they start off strong for their respect for where they stand currently in Group A. Halcyon, of course, the 1-1 record. Tchecks play the 2-0 record here, and I imagine for Tchecks play, motivation is we got to get to 3-0 and get into top 4.
For sure. And like I mentioned, PXG already leads their group 3-0. So if Tchecks wants to stay in the running of it, they have to get a 3-0 of themselves in terms of having that set record in their groups. Halcyon on the outside looking in, our tied would be the Love Vita being 1-1 as well. So they are in the hunt. Both teams still gunning for that top 2 placement, like you mentioned in the groups, to qualify for top 4. So I only expect the best from these teams moving forward here. But taking a look at the rest of the maps in terms of what we might expect, like you mentioned, Barnacle and Dime Game 5, everyone bluffs that map just for the sake of it. But I also want to I noticed a little bit of a pattern there. You mentioned Undertow Spillway, a bit of an unusual map. I do agree with you on that sentiment, but I just find it funny that most times when people think of this is an unusual zones map, it's usually a double zones map besides Umami Ruins. Umami Ruins seems to be the only one people are like, yeah, we'll give it a pass. But we saw Flounder Heights, and then now we will potentially see Undertow Spillway if it goes to that.
I mean, my time playing Undertow Zones can only be best described as nightmarish. It's only because it's a small zones map, so you also have to. The 2 zones are small. That's really the big reason. That means that retakes are super easy to get too. But again, that's not the map we got. That's not the map I want to put a lot of focus on either. But that's just I see that and I'm like, oh god, it's all coming back. But we go over to that game 1, which I believe we're gonna be queued up to right now exactly.
Yep.
Game 1 being this Inkblot Zones. It's gonna the ultimate question is gonna be the weapons. S-Splash and Pencil seems to be the flavor of the day. We do get to see Spec, by the way, on that stamper, the one with the Booyah Bomb Kitten on the VDS, the vanilla Dually Sculptures. Those are the ones we'll see. Storm, of course, on their shot, and as you noted, Shiny is on the Pencil. I'm not at all surprised by the weapons.
Oh, something that's a little bit surprising to me is Halcyon on the dually Squelcher is not a weapon you commonly see. You do see Toady, though, I believe, on the side of tchecks already getting a flank onto Shiny, and as a matter of fact, Candon getting a flank on as well. So both Pens already getting flanked early out of the equation, so no early coolers will be had in this game. Scrappy fighting happening on this bottom left side with 2 players on Halcyon's side going down early. Toady on this gal being the one to get that assassination onto Shiny early will be the main spearhead and aggressor as tchecks plays get a strong hold in mid down to the 60-point total already.
Yeah, already down to the 60 points remain there. Storm has to fire the point-blank Zuka shot just to eliminate one of them. And now this is, but they hold them off for just a bit. This is going to be a good time for Halcyon to take full advantage. Now you got 2 players invested onto the ramp. The Crafting is trying to split the priorities across the board. One focusing on the zone, the other one focusing on the flank that is incoming from the ramp. And tchecks play getting caught in both directions causes 2 members to drop on their own. And there comes the Booyah Bomb being used here. That is just going to be thrown just to get Spec some coverage and some defenses to work with. This is going to be an immediate lead change here. 51 remain, still counting down. That's 2 members that continues to drop, and it's only a Crab Tank and the Cooler. At least the 2 specials you can work off of to take it to at least stem the tides here. But Rocket, Halcyon, already 30 points remaining. They're still continuing on.
Yeah, and you saw Kit Kat's Booyah Bomb get canceled as well on the side of tchecks play. 20 ticks left in favor of Halcyon, but here comes the retake. You need to get to this one, and tchecks plays does it with absolute perfect execution there, being able to save that potential knockout. Getty moving up on this left side, almost to a Crab as well. Shiny there, being able to contest them on this ramp side. 2 players down on the side of Halcyon quickly from Toady. Now 3 down in total. There's the wipeout with Shiny being the last to fall as well. We could see an entirely flipping of momentum here, and we're seeing it actually being played out. So many players up already on this aggressive side. Caden being pushed as well by Toady. Now the point still ticking down. On 30 ticks left here. So much to go for Halcyon to get back into the zone.
They had to reclaim their ground right now, because this is going to all fall apart in a near instant. There's not much to work off of for specials. There's also not much to work off for players. They're getting staggered right now. Toady is still providing pressure. All the distraction tactics, and it is coming down to one pendulum swing in the other direction. tchecks play comes off in the better end of it, and once again, masterful play, especially with the Crab Tank that is pressuring Halcyon out of their own base. tchecks play KOs. They get the game 1 to start off this 3rd round.
Yeah, and you saw every member of tchecks plays, once they were able to get control of that zone, they all just crushed into the stack side of Halcyon. I mean, you just saw, I believe it was Toady as well being the one to lead the way for tchecks plays on that gal moving forward. You saw that early aggression from them to take out Shiny at the beginning of the match, and we saw that aggression continue from start to finish, just constantly just applying all of that pressure on to Halcyon. And the more important thing as well, they kept them out of their own base for so long that even when the pick started going into the favor of Halcyon, it just took them a little too long to get back into mid. They got so much space put in between them that there was just not a lot of time on the clock to really regroup. As you saw, everyone was jumping to Shiny. They're trying to get in that last ditch retake, but time was ticking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a classic case of the minute that your base gets taken over by tchecks plays at the end, even when Halcyon gets at the better end of it, as you noted, you had to just spend a lot of pain just trying to get your own base back. By investing so much in Toady just there to play full distraction, there was very little chance that they have to get a recontest in the time needed before basically the point remain goes down to 0. So that's just how we see it, just how we see it there. And there's also just 3 pendulum swings that happened. One great push, the Halcyon had an even better push. tchecks counters with their own fantastic push. It all just went in one direction or the other. We go to ramen zones for game number 2. The momentum will looking to continue for tchecks plays. Both teams are going to be dishing, I believe, very similar comps. If anything, I take that back. Storm does switch off of the shot and into the 52 here. That is the most notable change I've seen so far. And Toady, by the way, still sticking with the 52 gal right away. Rocket already, though, out of the gate. Halcyon losing 2, and tchecks play gets the first cap of the zone less than 15 seconds into the match.
And continuing that momentum from game one is exactly what tcheck plays is doing, keeping the pedal to the metal and keeping up that aggression. Already you have Yeti as well with this crab on the important elbow position. They are taken out by a bomb, however, so this could be the stroke of luck that Halcyon needs to get back in control. Storm leading the way with Spec right behind them. Shiny as well is there. You have the S-Blast to worry about. 1v1 trade will be had on that bottom side, but now it's an even fight over the zone regardless. You have Spec's Booyah Bomb coming in, however, to help Halcyon maybe get a little bit of a footholding as it will be thrown into that elbow area. And with 2 down on the side of tcheck's play, possibly a 3rd and a 4th as well, that will be zone in favor of Halcyon.
Now the ultimate question, how do you keep getting advantages from here as tcheck's play enters into a staggered setup here, which may inevitably lead to the lead change? Ultimate question for Halcyon is, how do you try to move forward? That is 2 picks! 2 picks right out of spawn, and there is no firepower left from tcheck's plays other than the lone pencil that can at least try to farm for coolers right away. Halcyon keeping this pressure going. The question right now, what picks can tcheck's play do other than just the wave break that's being dished out? They do get the pencil. Shiny has been eliminated. Maybe this is the opening that they need. This is definitely the opening that they need. The pencil being countered there. Kaden trying to eliminate them for all their might, but this is likely going to result in the zone flip the other direction. 2 members have gone down. This zone's cap may not last for long unless the Halcyon takes their time to basically get the retake in their favor, and that's what it is. Rocket, a lot to digest. It ends with Halcyon getting the better end of it right now. 29 points remaining versus 65 points remaining is the score.
And you saw a similar story really played out on the other side for Halcyon. It's doing exactly what tcheck's play did to them in game 1, which is pushing all the way into their spawn and leaving them no space to really get any retake going. Kaden got one onto Yeti there, and now the momentum has continued to flow for Halcyon. Specials up, Shiny with that cooler as well. All members pretty much getting that cooler up, but now you see tcheck's play making their move. All players now shifting up that elbow area. Crab being popped, Kaden going down already pretty early here. And tcheck's play not giving them any room to operate now. Going out of that penalty point total, they will now to try to mount back the comeback of their own.
They're gonna have to, and they have a great chance to do so. Booyah Bomb gets Kaden on the back end of it. But for tcheck's play, they just had to replicate the exact same success they did, but they lose a couple members on their own. It's going to lead into a slightly neutral situation. Toadie's the one that's on the aggressive end of it. They, I believe, got the pick onto Spec on the other side. Storm trying to outmaneuver Toadie in a 52-52 duel, and Storm does get the better end of it right now. It is just going to be the 25 points remaining, and that's what it's going to be so far. Right now the points ticking down. tcheck's play does get the lead. That's 2 members that have also dropped on top of it. 4 is the only one still holding on to the weapon with their dear might. Storm has dropped on a 2nd player down situation. The respawns aren't going to be back in time as the firepower isn't there anymore, and that is tcheck's plays. A lot more back and forth this time, but they will come out with the KO on the end. 2-0 set point coming up for tcheck's plays.
Yeah, different game environment, but same results regardless. tcheck's play looking very strong just with their quick aggression mobility, and that kind of leans into the comp that they were running. They're running the Gal, and they're running that V-Splash as well to help and supplement KitKat's S-Blast, who has been making a lot of very important plays, mind you, that have kind of flown under the radar, but I wanted to highlight one of them. On that hold that Halcyon had when they were pushed up all the way to tcheck's play's side of the map, they needed that individual play to really find an opening because Halcyon was 1 player down, so it was a 3v4. Yeti actually, or not Yeti, KitKat, excuse me, managed to find 2 picks, I believe, onto Storm and Kaden there with 1 shot of the S-Blast, and that completely flipped the script, allowing tcheck's to get that momentum back and allowed them to eventually lead into what we saw there, which was that wonderful hold.
Well, and now we are in a situation here in game 3. Halcyon, it would need, to say the least, the reverse sweep to pretty much try to stay within range up top 4. Probably the toughest assignment right now with the way tcheck's play has been playing so far. And just to keep an eye on why this may matter for Halcyon's top 4 ambitions, it is that Viva La Vida, by the way, is up 1-0 against Paris Saint-Glufus here. So that set could be entering Viva La Vida's favor here. So Halcyon needs to get a reverse sweep to stay within range and possibly cause a mountain of chaos up for that 2nd place position. Spec, by the way, switching to the vanilla stamper to say the least. So that's away from the Booyah Bomb stamper onto the vanilla setup so far. I think that might be the only notable change I see so far, unless I'm mistaken here, Rocket.
Yeah, and a quick little update as well. Actually, Viva La Vida now has 2 games up on Paris Saint, so this is gonna mean even more for Halcyon. Looking like Viva is going to take that set. So Halcyon have to do everything in their power to make this one competitive. Have to do everything in their power to potentially pull off that reverse sweep. But it all starts on this Hagglefish Market game, of course. But tchecks plays already off to their usual blazing start with 75 points on the board, and always that W key aggression.
Yeah, always with that W key aggression so far, and right now, Halcyon actually still holding on to the zone for a lot with a lot of power. So a lot of things that we have noticed here is that both teams have been able to find the advantages that they need, and it's coming down to each individual play starting to matter at the end. Kaden not able to get the pick onto the pencil that could have helped their cause. Doesn't seem like it will matter too much though. But to get back to my original point here, Rocket, what I've noticed between both these teams, basically pendulum swings in both directions. You have one great push, and then by one team, it's led off by another push by the other, and then at the end, tchecks plays gets the better end of their duels, and that's kind of what we're seeing there. Kaden somehow escapes with their lives, and that might buy themselves some time to at least work with this one life that they got. But the 4 members in the middle, this might be an immediate zone split, but they throw the Booyah Bomb into the zone, which they will. No, it still stays in the control of Halcyon right now. Kaden is still trying to dive into it. That's 2 members have dropped. The Crafting's the only one alive. 25 points left to go, and this is probably the best looking push we have seen so far.
Yes, but they need to close it out here. Halcyon needs everything here. Do not give tchecks any opportunity to get back. Kaden does fall on this right side, so it could be a potential opening, especially since 2 players go down on the side of Halcyon. This is exactly what you want to avoid, but tchecks play will not be able to paint the zone, as it was just Kit Kat there with the S-Blast. Halcyon survives that one, and at the very least puts one onto the board, helping their top 4 hopeful dreams. But it is going to have to come down to these final potential 2 games as well, as it is backs against the wall for the rest of this set.
No kidding on that. That is pretty much a game that Halcyon needed to win. There just to get the potential set records on hold, and that was, I've mentioned before, it's been pendulum swings in either direction. Individual plays starting to make a lot of difference in both these games. Kaden, I don't know how Kaden stayed alive in any of those missed shots. I gotta give it, that's the cooler effect happening though. Once Kaden recognized, okay, I'm in no man's land, I gotta jump out of there and return back to the team. It pretty much, that ultimately kept them alive for as long as they can. The Booyah Bomb, by the way, Rocket, in the middle, where tchecks plays tries to get the capital zone just with the Booyah Bomb, and not getting neutral out of it, I think made the difference. Because once the team started to go down one by one, because the fact they couldn't force neutral and actually force Halcyon to spend a little bit more extra time meant that there was no chance for a counter push. That looked so good though from Halcyon out of that Hagglefish Zones map.
For sure. And now we go to a little bit more of an uneasy map for you, to kind of say the least. Undertow Spillway. Double zone map, as we mentioned before, similarly played out to Umami Ruined Zones, just in the aspect of the zones are so small, it is going to be a tough fight all across the entire map, and you have that unique nature of you have a little bit of a perch for your backlines or your longer range weapons to kind of sit on and poke away at the rest of the players. So it's going to really come down to that special usage of how to dislodge those players and really how to utilize your resources effectively, because that's the nature of double zones maps. It really puts the stress on your specials a lot more, just because when you have a single zone map, you just think, okay, just throw it onto the zone. But here in double zones, you really have to pick and choose wisely. But taking a look at things, it does look like we will have very similar comps all across the board. Spec going with the Vanilla V Stamper instead of a Booyah Bomb one for the Zipcaster, of course. Let's see if it makes any difference.
It's actually kind of some conventional wisdom from certain teams is that undertow zones can always being this slightly smaller map means you could throw in Booyah Bombs. But I'm gonna have to hold on to that thought. By the way, that's already a delayed wipe. By the way, I was gonna say that that you could see a Booyah Bomb being used to cap one part of the zone. I think Halcyon decided that we gotta just go full aggro and just eliminate tchecks plays whenever we can. That wipeout couldn't make the difference for points right now, because right now tchecks Plays is kind of stuck behind. Spec gets eliminated on the other side of the map there. Four and the rest of tchecks Plays are collapsing onto the left hand side of the map. Now the crab tank being used. They are trying to pick off Shiny there, but now all of the resources thrown into both zones, and it leads to the 51 points remaining. It's just the nature of undertow zones. Rocket, that's a great powerful push to start. It only ends with 51 points remaining.
Strong start, but with these games, it needs to be a strong finish as well. tchecks Plays similarly we had a similar story play out in game 2. Robo-Rom and Halcyon looks very poised from the very beginning, but tchecks Play was able to get it back, and we could see a similar story here with Toady gaining one out to Storm. A very nice Shark will net them that pick, and like I mentioned here, there's the lead chains. tchecks Plays already in a great position with Spec going down as well to Toady. Toady is just absolutely breaking down Halcyon's retake attempts here. 35 ticks left. You need to have one of these specials really go in. You have a wave breaker to maybe utilize, as well as Spec Zipcaster potentially coming online soon, but time is running out here, Kion.
Oh no. Yeah, time is definitely running out. They've actually lost 3, and with the coolers not being around, tchecks Plays might have just put this game on ice, as Storm is just the only one just trying to fight a 1v1 duel. It ends with Storm on the losing end of it. Different story this time. Halcyon, you had the right ideas with the full aggro start. tchecks Plays puts all of that to bed, and a lot more as they take this one home 3-1. tchecks Plays improves it to a 3-0 set record. Halcyon dropping to 1-2, now requiring several miracles to make it all the way home. And for tchecks Plays and Halcyon, both well fought at the end. tchecks Plays made the plays when it mattered.
Toady. In game 1 as well, being the forefront for tchecks Plays to completely get those openings in that crunching moment for Inkblot Art Academy, which completely eliminated Halcyon. And similar story here in the closeout game, game 4. Toady, just such the presence of the Gal, constantly getting a player down, getting 2 players down, and constantly just making it a 3v4 in favor of tchecks Plays, completely eliminated